I am calling this June 24th,
I'm taking the 2
2020
minutes to go.
meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission to order. I'm Stephanie Danielson, and I am the chair of the commission. This meeting is being recorded. And in accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 20, relating to the 2020 novel coronavirus outbreak emergency, the June 24th, 2020 public meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission shall be physically closed to the public to avoid group congregation. Real-time public participation and comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. This application will allow users to view the meeting and send a comment or question to the chair via the Q&A function. Submitted text comments will be read into the record at the appropriate points in the meeting. For those of you joining us by phone, if you want to ask a question, press 9 to raise your hand and you'll be acknowledged. A copy of the recording and transcript will be posted to the city's website within 72 hours. All votes will be done via roll call to ensure count accuracy. Quorum call, board members, please respond in the affirmative to indicate your attendance at this meeting. Stephanie Danielson, aye. Joanne Zigmund?
Aye.
Bonnie Sparks?
She's here, but
Bonnie?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
The button, sorry.
That's all right. Lucia Cersei is not attending this evening. With 3 members voting in the affirmative, I declare we have a quorum. Okay. Am I supposed to read all the what we have on the agenda too? I don't think I did that last week. I'll quickly review the agenda. On tonight's agenda, we have an extension request for Thorny Lee Golf Course, a notice of intent for Plot 1 Leach Avenue, a notice of intent for 166 East Ashland Street, notice of intent map 142, Plot 383 Quincy Street, a request for determination for 53 Baker Street, a request for minor change 940 Belmont Street, that is the VA hospital, a request for minor change 2020 Main Street, and we have enforcement order ratifications. And those enforcement orders of Belmont, 940 Belmont, 2020 Main Street. Oh no, those are requests for minor changes. Okay, never mind.
166 East Ashland has asked to be continued to the July 15th meeting.
Do I have a motion to continue 166 East Ashland to the next meeting, July 16th?
I make a motion to.
15th.
15th, July 15th. All in favor by roll call, Stephanie Danielson, aye.
Joanne Zigmund, aye.
Bonnie Sparks, aye.
Motion passes. Anyone who's on the call for 166 East Ashland Street,
Not you, it's them.
that is being continued to July 15th. All right. The first item on the agenda, Thorny Lee Golf Course, Scott Farrier from J.K. Holmgren. Are you ready?
I hope so. Can you hear me?
We can. Can
Oh,
you hear
great.
us?
All right, I can. Thank you. All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Scott Farrier from J.K. Holmgren for Thorny Lee Golf Course. Where
Someone does have some conversation going on in the background. Whoever has someone talking in the background, if you could mute yourself, please. All right, thank you.
I think that might be the background of Scott.
Scott, do you have someone talking in the background?
I do not, Stephanie. Everybody has left me here alone.
Okay, again, if you could please mute yourself. It sounds like they did. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. So what we have is an order of conditions that the commission issued back in May of 2017 for routine maintenance of the drainage ditches out on the golf course. It goes on twice a year, usually the spring and the fall. We were just looking for an extension on that order of conditions. It would have expired May 17th of 2020.
All right, Megan, do you have a report?
So I can confirm that the last time the drainage ditch maintenance work was done was around September 16th. So as required by the order of conditions, they did provide advance notice that they would be doing the drainage maintenance at that time. I've since been following up, in the recent months to determine where they're at currently. It seems that the maintenance work was not required this past spring. They just did some vegetation overgrowth removal around hole 16, but they're requesting the extension so that should the drainage ditches need semi-annual maintenance going forward, they're looking to continue that. It seems to be in line with the original order of conditions. I was not there at the time the original order was passed, so I can't speak to whether the intention was that this order would be continued or given extensions indefinitely. But the way the order of conditions is phrased, it is phrased as semi-annual maintenance. So I would assume then that the assumption was that they would be requesting these extensions. And I would think then that it was granted the order with the understanding that they would be given these extensions. So again, in terms of the official order itself, what they're proposing seems to be in line with that. The only note I will make is that as part of the order of conditions, it did allow for alteration to land underwater because they are removing sediment from the drainage ditches as part of up to the semi-annual maintenance. So I would assume then going forward, if needed, they could continue to do a repeated alteration to land underwater if they remove more sediment buildup going forward. So it is included in the order of conditions, but it would be sort of a repeated alteration going forward.
So Megan, I'm assuming because they're seeking an extension, we could issue an extension with an additional special condition, being that if they were going to be removing the sediment and altering the land underwater, that they would need to come back and inform the commission and allow us to review it?
Yes, so the order of conditions requires them to give notice already. But if the commission wanted to ask for notice that also allows them time to respond, if they do not object to that, I think that would be appropriate since it would be a repeated alteration.
But I'm also assuming because the commission is not mandated to issue an extension. It's something that we could request, and if they do not agree.
Right.
But in any case, Joanne,
I have no comments, no questions.
Bonnie?
No comments or questions.
Okay, do I have, this is a request for an extension, so it's not a hearing. We don't need to close. Do I have a motion?
Actually, let me clarify. So how long is the extension for?
They're asking for 3 years.
3 years. And is there a particular reason why it's 3 years as opposed to shorter?
That's usually that's the standard. You can grant one up to 3 years. I mean, certainly if we could talk about that, if you felt it should be shorter.
I think if my fellow commissioners are okay with 3 years, so am I.
I'm okay with 3 years if we have the condition that that they would need to give adequate notice for us to review if they were doing sediment removal in the ponds and thus affecting land underwater.
That sounds good to me. All right, shall I make a motion then to grant a 3-year extension with the condition that they give us notice if they're going to be removing sediment in future?
I second.
Okay, just a little discussion, I would say that they give us sufficient notice to allow the commission and our agent to review their proposal to do that.
Do you want me to restate the motion, or shall we just note that?
I think we can note it. All right. All in favor? Joanne?
Aye.
Bonnie?
Aye.
Stephanie? Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, Scott's on next for a notice of intent for Plot 1, Leach Avenue.
We do have some abutters. Not
All
really
right, and how do I see it? I just look at the participants, or, oh, I see.
Well, it's attendees, but
Yeah,
I'm not
okay.
really sure because,
But people can raise their hands, right?
there's one that's raised now.
Okay.
Wait a minute, we'll unmute her for a second.
Julie, do you have a question related to the proceedings? Because we haven't even opened the hearing yet. Julie, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Do you have a question related to the proceedings as opposed to the project?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right. So we'll hear from the applicant, and then we will open up the floor for
I don't
questions
know who
and
this is.
comments from.
I just got it.
Okay. Scott.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Again, Scott Farrier from the JK Holmgren Engineering, representing All Town Real Estate Development for a project on Leach Ave. It's kind of a strange address. It's at the very end of Leach Ave, across the street from the school that fronts back out on Warren Ave. We have a notice of intent filed with you folks that is technically for filling of land within a floodplain. And it's a little bit of a different situation, I think. As you know, Brockton has a zoning regulation and also zoning overlay districts that puts a zone district over any land that is shown as being in the floodplain on the flood maps provided by FEMA.
Mm-hmm.
In this situation, this property and the property heading from our road all the way out to Warren Ave is all shown as being in the floodplain. Last fall, we filed a letter of map amendment request with FEMA to take the property out of the floodplain. And we received a letter back from FEMA at the very end of the year, December 30th, that granted our request, and our property has been removed from the floodplain. So I think in most cases, in most cities and towns, that would take care of our requirement to file with conservation, since the property is no longer in the floodplain. But Brockton still has that zoning overlay area. So under your bylaw, we're still required to file with conservation, even though it's no longer a FEMA flood zone. So that being said, what we've done is there are no resource areas on the property, no vegetated wetlands, no streams, nothing like that. So what we have to do in order to construct the proposed home, we obviously have to build it up a little bit and bring in some fill. So we have roughly 100 cubic yards of fill that we're proposing to bring into the property. And to compensate for that, we're digging out 115 cubic yards in two different places, one on the right side of the house, one on the left side of the house, as compensatory storage areas for that additional fill that we're bringing in. That is the quick review of it, Madam Chair.
Okay, Megan.
Okay, yes, so I can give a brief run through of my report. So basically, we became involved in this project after an abutter contacted the city with concerns about a foundation that had been installed on this property. They were concerned about water being redirected back onto their property because of the fill in the foundation. So we followed up on it and confirmed that the two-family house proposed here, while they had received a zoning variance, they had not pulled a building permit and had not spoken with conservation about the potential floodplain issues. So the commission at the time did issue an enforcement order to prompt this filing and this review of the floodplain issues. And so I can confirm that the property has received a letter of map amendment for removing this property from the Zone A special flood hazard area. Although this LOMA was granted, I and also the city engineer have concerns that this letter of map amendment does not include a base flood elevation. So Zone A in general does not have a base flood elevation. Usually an independent engineering analysis is conducted in order to apply for a LOMA to get a property removed from Zone A. In this case, it seems that no engineering analysis was performed for this LOMA request. Instead, it appears that FEMA may have referenced a different LOMA about a block away. And so because that other property about a block away received a LOMA removing it from the property, they then issued it to this one, even though there was no base flood elevation. But again, myself and the city engineer do have concerns about that, given the sensitivity of the site. So while there are no legal jurisdictional other resource areas on the site, it is worth noting that French Brook does run along the western property line. It is culverted from about 700 feet south and then culverted across the property line, but the brook is in an easement right along the property line there, which probably explains some of the localized flooding in the area. So given that, that is why the city engineer and I had concerns about the independent engineering analysis not being conducted and this site not having a base flood elevation conducted. And so why we wanted to continue to pursue commission jurisdiction over this project. And
Okay.
so, yes, I did request comment from the city engineer about the flood storage being proposed, especially because they are working over a city easement above the culvert. The culvert is about 20 feet away from the current foundation. And the city engineer at this time, his concern is mostly about the placement of the drainage basin so close to the foundation. His recommendation was either that the flood storage needs to be moved somewhere else, or the foundation needs to be converted to slab on grade rather than a basement, which is what has currently been installed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Could I ask, Madam Chair, is that a recent conversation? Because I don't have any of that correspondence. All I have is a letter from Howard Newton saying it does not pose a maintenance issue having the compensatory storage area over the drain area.
Megan,
Yes,
do
this
you?
was, Chike, the city engineer, received the request last week to take a look at these plans.
Mm.
And so he did do that, and he recently sent me these comments via email. So it's been a quick turnaround to get these comments, but I can forward on his email as a Word document to Scott.
So this looks like a very tight lot.
It is. It's your typical old-fashioned small Brockton lot. It was a city-owned lot. The city put it up for auction. My client bought it from the city about a year ago or so, maybe a little bit more than that. It was deemed to be a buildable lot, needed a variance from the Board of Appeals to propose a two-family home in this location. But it is, it's an R1C zone. It's a 6,000 square foot lot. It's, kind of your your typical Brockton 60 by 100 foot lot. This one's it's 70 feet by roughly 90 feet. So it's a small lot, but again, it was acquired at a city auction from the city.
Well,
Yeah.
the fact that it was acquired through auction doesn't mean it's necessarily buildable from an overall perspective.
No, except again, there is no floodplain. I mean, it's the reason FEMA has it shown as a floodplain is because back in the day, French's Brook did run through there. It has since, I believe in the 40s, was converted to a culvert system and was no longer an overland drainage system. So now it's subsurface drainage like any other street in Brockton that has a drain line under it.
Okay. Joanne, do you have any questions or comments?
No, none.
Bonnie?
No questions.
Okay. I am going to open it up to any abutters. So if you could either press #9, right? #9 is a,
Yeah.
And-
Calling in.
or I think you can raise a hand if you're,
Well, I've unmuted Julie because I think she's,
Yep, can you hear us?
oh,
Yes,
yep,
please state
okay,
your
that's
name.
Mr. Pires. Yep.
please
All
state your
right.
name for the record, and I will recognize one person at a time.
All right, John Pyers, 16 Leach Ave.
Okay, Mr. Pires. Is it Pires or
Yes,
Okay.
Pires.
And you have a comment or question?
Oh, yes, very much so. What happens is with this flood zone area over here, when these underwater traps here take water, they can only take so much at a certain time. And what happens is the water starts receding and blowing the covers off, the sewer covers off the street down here. So the water does get up about 4 feet deep. There's been many cars lost down here at nighttime because they don't realize when they're driving down here at night how deep that water is. It gets so bad and deep that it floods the front of the school because the water can't all take into the intake at that time. So it's bubbling out, like I say, and coming there. But now since the property behind me has been built the way that they have it up, when the water does come in, it's just gonna come straight into my yard and the neighbor's yard because of the way they have the embankment on there. But the sewers are right there where they plan on building. There's one trap on one side, one trap on the other side, and 2 in front of the school. And for years, I've been cleaning them out to get the water down out of there. But yeah, I just don't want to go through a flood like we've had before. And like I say, this
So how
thing does-
frequently has this happened, Mr. Pires?
It has when we have quick torrential downpours, we'll get floods over here. I'm quite sure the city is pretty aware of it. I used to tell Mr. Neri all the time that we got a flood over here. He said there's nothing that we can do because it's the storm drains and they can only take so much water. So if that water is coming all the way from DW Park or wherever it's coming from, the French drain, that's coming down here pretty quick. And there's a lot of water that's coming through here. But we were told from FEMA that this is a flood zone. So we've been paying flood insurance for the longest. So I don't know why FEMA would tell somebody else that it's not or it used to be. We don't have nothing to worry about. But like I say, when it floods up on Keith Ave as well. So it's like
Well-
a river up there. And I've sent a couple of photos. I don't know if I can't send them through right to Pam. I don't know if they came right through because it said that they were too large on my phone, I think. When I sent
They
it.
were too large. They probably didn't make it through to the city offices.
Yeah, but you can actually put a jet ski back here, no joke, when the water floods up into this backyard. And insurance is only gonna take care of the meter box. They don't take care of nothing else.
Right.
They don't take care of
I,
nothing.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mr. Farrier to comment, but I have a question for him first.
Yes,
For Mr. Farrier. Scott, does the letter of map amendment only cover your lot?
Yes. Yep, it only covers my lot there. again, if you look at the flood maps, it's that entire area is shown as being in the flood zone.
Right.
You have the right to file a letter of map amendment, which we did, but all FEMA does is just take out parcel by parcel until they determine that it's worthy of them doing a flood study elevation and revising the maps.
And what was their, what was the assessment?
The
Or
assessment was,
what was the information and justification provided by you for taking it out of the floodplain?
the main reason was that, as your agent said, the case that was a block away on Keith Ave had a flood elevation that was determined by the proponent at that time and by FEMA, or agreed upon, to have a flood elevation of 81.8, where the lowest elevation on our property is elevation 85. The catch basin's out in the street at 84.4. So everything is 2.5 to 3 feet higher at our lowest point. We're 3 feet higher than the known flood, the flood elevation. And over this 200 or 300 foot distance from that property, the flood elevation wouldn't jump. Typically as you've seen on any of the maps, it jumps up a foot over 100 feet, a couple hundred feet. So that was the justification. If 81.8 was a flood elevation 1 block over, then it would, the FEMA felt like it would be reasonable to assume that our property at elevation 85 would not, is well above the floodplain and would not have any issues. As far as the flooding in the street, it's like any street. If you have a heavy rainfall and the catch basins can't handle the water, you're going to have puddles.
Well, but we don't want to contribute more to that. I'm going to share my screen, and I want Mr. Pyers to tell me where you live proximate to the site. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right, because I don't see your name on the abutters that are
Anna
identified.
Perez.
It's Perez.
Oh, it's Perez. Okay,
Correct,
so you
yes.
folks are over, I just saw you. You're over here.
Right.
Yes.
You're immediately, yeah.
I'm the only house on here,
That's attached to him, adjacent to him.
and that's his
And-
property there that he has.
And my neighbor to the left of me also, his yard turns into a river as well.
And again, Madam Chair, if you look at the plan, their property that abuts us, they have, a good sized side yard, a grass area. And they're about 3 feet upgrading of us. So, that whole end of Leach Ave does flow downhill to the 2 catch basins in front of our property. Those are at a low spot. So
Where is the drain discharging to?
Right in front of his property.
Right in front of his property
Right.
on both sides.
right there where your cursor is, Madam Chair.
That's
That's
where
the-
it drains to?
Yep,
That's
that's
where it
the manhole.
discharges?
And then
Yes, that's French Brook, the culvert.
that's the
Yep.
manhole. The manhole runs
Right
from
here is French Brook?
exactly.
Yes.
It runs in a southerly direction that way, north-south.
Okay.
So it's a big, it's an 8-foot culvert. It's a major drainage structure. It's not a 12-inch pipe. It's a big structure that they put underground there to reroute the brook.
But if it's surcharging, it sounds like it's not sized properly.
The catch
No,
basin,
it's not.
yeah, I'm sure the catch basins in front of our site may not be sized properly, but the culvert itself, again, it's an 8-foot culvert. It's as big as most of your rivers in the city. So I'm sure the culvert is fine. It's the catch basins in front of the site that they're 12-inch pipes. There's only so much water they can handle at one point.
Okay, do we have anyone else from the public who wishes to speak?
On that, yes, my neighbor.
My hand is up, I think.
Julie, turn that towards him.
I can't see.
Okay,
this.
there it is. Is that the Galaxy?
Oh, yeah, the Galaxy, that's me, right?
Okay, could you state your name, please, for the record?
Seth Gregg,
Seth Gregg?
yes.
Okay. And you have a comment or question?
Yes, okay. I was just waiting to see, let's see, allow,
Who's
Can-
Galaxy S9?
unmute. Okay,
Oh,
can you
okay.
hear me?
Okay, do you hear me
Yeah?
properly?
Yeah,
Yes?
yes, we can
okay.
hear you fine.
Oh, okay.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. Yeah,
Someone is talking over Seth, so if you could please stop, that would be wonderful.
yeah, I'll put it on this.
Which one was you talking on? This one?
Seth, if you could proceed, please.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, we're in the same area, so. Yeah, so I basically abut the property, I'm not sure, to the rear, most likely, of the property. I'm not sure of the actual direction of it. And as well, the water comes in off of Keith Ave and actually pours in over the rear of my property. As you can see, the grassy area alone is about 200 feet down, a 200-foot length. And I've had it just 2 weeks ago, a week or two ago, we had some heavy rain, and that basically flooded out my entire backyard. And that's a 10,000 square foot area, to give you an idea of how much water actually goes through there. Usually when it happens early spring or something like that, the ground could still be frozen. That water can stay back there for over a week because it has nowhere to go. And not only that, but my backyard runs into the other empty lot. I knew the number at some point, but I can't remember what it is. The undeveloped lot on the other side, and it runs into there as well. So, I've been here for about 13 years. I remember my neighbor, Pierre, their entire basement flooded years ago. And I don't think with wherever construction was done, it may have been, I'm not sure if the elevation was changed at all with the foundation being laid in, but I'm pretty sure it didn't improve any of the conditions that were going on that
Okay.
we already had existing.
And again, if any of my fellow commissioners want to speak, just speak up. I can't see you, so I don't know if you're dying to ask a question or not.
I have a question. This is Bonnie.
Yes.
I am curious more of how it would play out if we were to engage with the idea of no basement or a reduced basement.
Yeah, that sounds like something that the city engineer was recommending.
Yes, that was his recommendation. Again, this was related more to the integrity of the house rather than the easement. His concern was that if you put water storage that close to the basement, it's going to infiltrate under it or end up in the basement. So his recommendation was either the basins need to be relocated, which I don't know if that's possible on this site, or the basement, needed to be redesigned.
And that so one of the questions I had is it's kind of related to certainly the flood storage. What is the depth to groundwater there? I mean, you're bringing in, so you're raising the elevations, or you just overall?
Yeah, we're pretty much keeping it. We've got a top of foundation at 89.
Yep.
Grade around the foundation is 86. And
Yep.
the existing grade on the lot is between 85 and 86, depending on where you are. So we're pretty much keeping the proposed grading is pretty much the existing grading, not a great change.
So what is the fill being brought in for? And I still need an answer to my question about the depth to groundwater, but
Yeah.
what is
the fill's just being brought in just to mound around the foundation, just so we can properly pitch away from the foundation.
uh-huh.
That's it. It's just 100 cubic yards. It's not a giant amount that we're bringing in. So it's really just to properly grade away from the foundation. As far as groundwater, we didn't do a test pit to look at the groundwater. We don't typically. Again, the top of foundation is at 89. That would put your basement at 81.5. It's, the lowest spot on the lot is about 85. So that's, I'm sure we don't have a groundwater issue out there. We could certainly dig a hole to prove that. But as far as not having a basement on the property, I don't know that there's really a reason to justify that. It's not in the floodplain and it's not in the groundwater. As far as the basement.
But we don't know what
No, we don't.
groundwater
And
is.
to be honest with you, if I went out there tomorrow and dug a hole and found that the groundwater was at 83, we would just bump the foundation up. We would look to raise it somehow that way. But as far as the city engineer is concerned about the bottom of the basin being at 83 and the basement being at 82, we could just put a poly barrier up against the foundation just to make sure the water didn't go into the basement. If that was an issue.
Okay, so if I heard Megan correctly, the city engineer would like some time to evaluate the compensatory storage that's being proposed?
Yeah, so I can read his recommendation here on behalf of the engineering department. It says, "It is our recommendation that the Conservation Commission should suggest to the project proponent to request an extension so the above issues are first addressed and reviewed by the Division of Engineering of the Department of Public Works."
Yeah, I would agree we would want that. Joanne and Bonnie, would you agree?
I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah.
I also agree.
And I think one of the things, Scott, there may be an issue with the catch basins, but we don't want to we want to make sure we're not creating an additional problem for the abutters.
I understand.
And I'm not, what I heard that I thought was important was this happens with the torrential downpours that we've been getting, which are kind of a new phenomenon for us, that we're seeing more and more of that. And that's something that we need to take into consideration. When someone says, years and years ago, something flooded, well, we had severe flooding events in 2005 and in 2010. Those were unusual, but and I'm also concerned because Mr. Pyers, I think it was Mr. Pyers and not Seth, whose last name I didn't quite get. I apologize. That the water sits for a week before it infiltrates. So that would kind of concern me. So do you want to continue?
Yes, please. If I could see the city engineer's letter, we'll do our best. It's not easy. We've been waiting for a response for a few weeks on this one. So,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if it just got there today, that doesn't help us much. But if we can get a continuance, and we'll do our best to try to get some conversation going with the city engineer and come up with a solution that satisfies everybody. It just isn't easy doing it.
And our next meeting is the 15th.
Yes.
So do I have a motion to continue to July 15th?
I make a
Yes.
motion to continue to July 15th.
That is Joanne. Do I have a second?
I second.
Bonnie? Danielson, aye.
Joanne, aye.
Bonnie?
Aye. Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so we'll see you back on July 15th.
Thank you, folks. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. All right. The next item was continued. So we are now, let's see, we have 383 Quincy Street on the agenda.
I have unmuted Azu and Attorney Chris Vale. I think that's it for this. Oh, John McCluskey.
Okay.
Mike Mather. I think I got everybody.
Pam, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Oops.
And is this is the project that's identified as Zero Quincy Street?
Yes.
I was planning on recusing myself from this project.
Madam Chair, this is
Yes,
Antonio,
yes. Mhm.
the project engineer for this project. I believe, Madam Chair, that you only have 3 members of your commission
That's correct.
present. And I also therefore believe under the open meeting law and notice of disclosure, I believe that you are allowed, Madam Chair, under the rule of necessity.
I am. So that's
be-
where I was going with this.
To be present. You may not necessarily vote on it, but when you
Yeah.
are participating under the rule of necessity, it's important for us to have a quorum.
I have what could be perceived as a conflict. And I was going to ask you, again, in the interest of quorum and not continuing this, because we've already waited quite a while to get to this meeting. I will make a disclosure. I was notified by my manager at work that there may be a work-related conflict for me, but personally, I think I can act in a very objective manner. And if it's just to keep the quorum for tonight, and then at the next meeting, if we have a full board, I may recuse myself at that point.
Madam Chair, I think I've worked with your commission for a very long time, and I believe I'm not speaking out of terms if I say that you're very fair and you are knowledgeable in what we are doing. So we will not have. We believe that you will be impartial and you will give us a fair hearing and a fair action if we're able to convince the commission that we have done our due diligence. So we will not have any problem with your participation, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Azu, as counsel for the applicant, I would agree with you.
Okay, let's proceed.
Okay, good evening. For the record, my name is Azrael Taniru. I've put up a board behind me to hide the clutter in my office, but I will also use it for discussion purposes as well. I'm not sure, I'm an engineer, but I'm not too savvy with computers and sharing files and all that. So I will use the plan that you have, but also use my background behind me on this poster for additional conversation. As you, this project is located on the near the intersection of Quincy Street and Crescent Street being Route 27. It is across the street from Massasoit Community Center, which I believe is the former Christos restaurant site. What we have here before you is a classic redevelopment project. In other words, the property has been, was previously developed. It is approximately 85% currently a parking lot with bituminous concrete pavement as its surface. Mr. Kenneth Thompson, our consulting wetlands biologist, delineated the resource, which includes resources, if you will, which includes a riverfront. In Brockton, the riverfront area is 25 feet from the mean annual high water, and also a BVW, bordering vegetated wetlands, which pretty much tracks the edge of the existing pavement. What we have before you is a redevelopment project for assisted / elderly housing use, which means be taking away a good portion of the impervious bituminous concrete surface and replacing that with a building. So which reduces, if you will, the potential for contaminants. We've also performed, even though it's a redevelopment project, we have also performed stormwater analysis, evaluating the pre-development conditions and the post-development conditions, which in reality is a wash. However, being good stewards and we're being aware of your environmental concerns, we are providing treatment for the impervious area, including the roof drain runoff. We are providing on-site recharge based on the DEP stormwater guidelines. The site is flagged, designated as a floodplain. We did our calculations, and we have an actual elevation established for this site. And FEMA, after evaluating our calculations, accepted the flood elevation that we've come up with. Now, it's important to note that the original floodplain was done under what is called National Geodetic Vertical Datum, or NVD 29. And then FEMA updated their elevations circa 2012. And so it is now on what is called the National North American Vertical Datum of 1988. So,
Azu, I'm going to stop you for a moment.
Yes.
Just because there's some housekeeping I forgot.
Okay.
Did we receive notification of a butter notification, proof of a butter notification?
Yes, those were emailed to Pam today, the green cards.
Okay.
I sent them with the green cards, as well as I mailed just regular notices reminding abutters of this hearing.
Pam, you
I
have...
received his email today.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Oh, no, not a problem. Not a problem. So we do have the FEMA, based on those elevations, have taken the area that we are developing because it's above that elevation. So FEMA has removed that area from floodplain. However, the area east of the BVW line, including the river, are still in the floodplain. That area is not taken out of the floodplain. So there's a specific area, and that is the project development area. Now, it probably would have been different. However, in evaluating the our request, FEMA noted that the fill on this site was prior to 1973. So that was, so the certificate actually has that. And so...
I'm sorry, I'm not clear on what you were saying just then.
So what FEMA did, based on the elevations on the NAVD 88, eliminated the area, removed, if you will, with the letter of a map amendment, remove the area above the wetlands from
Right.
the floodplain. But the area below the wetlands or within the wetlands basically to the east of the proposed site development stays in the floodplain.
Is this a
Right, that wasn't,
Loma Azu?
Pardon me?
Is this a recent Loma?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
We don't have, if it's a recent Loma for this project property, we don't have that on file currently.
Okay, I would email you. I will email that to you.
And
So-
Beta needs it.
And
So-
so in order to establish that elevation on NAVD 88, the elevations that we have on the plan are not on the city base because floodplains are done on NAVD 88. In order for FEMA to properly evaluate our request, if you will. And so, whereas the area of development is actually, again, a redevelopment under the stormwater, under DEP stormwater guidelines, standard 7, it's really what is applicable here. And that standard 7 basically says that for redevelopment, especially in-kind redevelopment, where we are basically taking an impervious asphalt area that we're going to be treating, that we can, as long as to the maximum extent practical or feasible, that's the level of compliance that we need to achieve. However, trying to be good neighbors and good stewards, we are reducing the rate of runoff. I will go quickly in a minute through the comments from Ms. Shave, as well as the comments from your review consultants, a Beta Group. I will say this: the original delineation of the BVW was done in 2018. It's taken this while for come up with a development plan that will work for the site, as well as meet our client's objectives. In reviewing the comment from Ms. Shave, we have gone out because the wetland delineation was done based on the criteria established by DEP. What we have done then, because we collected those flags, the delineation flags, by survey on the ground, I'm the licensed surveyor responsible for that. We have since, receiving the comments from Ms. Shave, reestablished the flag locations. So those flag locations are there on the property. To the north, along the northerly boundary of the project area, Madam Chair, members of the commission, we have almost like a finger-like projection of the BVW, and most of that BVW then traverses in a northeasterly direction on the abutting property. So we didn't feel that it was proper for us to continue beyond our immediate area into somebody else's property without their permission. One of the items that's important for us, we understand that you have a policy of requiring a 25-foot no-touch boundary from BVW. Because this site is previously developed, we are not able to achieve that setback. And also, in order to make our drainage work properly, we have approximately 130 square foot of BVW alteration to allow for a positive, actually in consideration also of the comments from your peer review consultant, Beta Group. We have actually realigned the discharge so that we have proper positive discharge and have updated our calculations that we will share with them and Ms. Shave. So we would welcome at the earliest possible convenience Ms. Shave's revisit of the site to review the delineation, because if if she has any problems with the delineation, then it might affect what we're doing. So we would like that to be resolved with our biologist as if there are any issues, because there are specific areas Ms. Shave identified that she questioned. So we would like an opportunity for that to be reviewed and addressed. Again, we are providing treatment, and I have a written set of responses that I will share with the commission and their consultant. At this point in time, that was a week ago. That the review report that we received from Beta is dated June 15th. So exactly a week ago. And obviously, they did a detailed review as well as Ms. Shave's review. I have articulated some responses, and in the interest of managing my time and perhaps the commission's time, whereas Ms. Shave will need to go and look at the flagging that we've hung up, and whereas we have, we believe some of the comments, we would like to discuss that with your peer review consultant so that we are not going back and forth, so that they can understand, if you will, the rationale for what we've done. Again, I think we are 99% in line with the DEP regulations, but I guess we need to make sure that we convince your consultants on that. And I have my review of responses that I would like to email to you as well as your consultant, and then have an opportunity to discuss it with them, perhaps virtually, and then meet with Ms. Shaves on site, and then we can have a productive meeting and hopefully get a positive conclusion with the commission. With that in mind, I would entertain any comments or questions at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Megan, you have a few comments in your letter. Do you want to review those, please?
Sure. So Azu has touched on some of them, so I can just reiterate and run through them. Yes, I did recommend that the wetlands flags be revisited. They were hung in December of 2017. So while technically that falls within the 3-year period of validity, when I went out there, I did find that a few flags were missing and most of the flags were no longer readable, which made it a bit difficult for me to determine the delineation in some places. So particularly between flags 6 and 11, I had some questions about the shape of the fill slope and how that influences the surrounding BBW. But at the time, it was hard to determine because flags were missing. So that is something I can follow up on now that the flags have been reintroduced. I also, again, had a comment about the base flood elevation. So this is another Zone A area for Beaver Brook. And so at the time that this was filed, there wasn't a base flood elevation provided. It sounds like Azu has since pursued a letter of map amendment with a base flood elevation. So receiving that, we should be able to review that and see how it falls on the site based on what they're proposing. And then I did make a comment that although this site is historically filled and the 25-foot buffer zone does have fill in it, it does have a dominance of invasive species in some areas. I did want to make the note that this project is proposing to add additional fill and pavement to the 25-foot. So it is going to be a further alteration. And then finally, this comment was also provided by Mass DEP, and that's that we will need further details about the BBW alteration and proposed replication, because we need to demonstrate compliance with the performance standards. And so in order to do that, myself and The circuit rider at Mass DEP has requested additional information on that alteration and replication area to confirm compliance. And yeah, so my last comment was just that all of the comments that Mass DEP provided with their issuance of the file numbers should also be addressed as part of this review.
Okay. Joanne?
So I'm just looking at an aerial of the site, and as Megan has said, obviously a large part of it is already paved over, but the plan does show, as Megan said, additional alteration within the 25-foot buffer zone. And frankly, that's my greatest concern, because we have held other projects to that policy. I feel like it's only fair that we hold this project to that. So I would like to hear whether you have considered alternatives to moving the project further away from that 25-foot line, and why it's not possible to do that. And if that's the case, is there anything else that can be done to, I'm going to use the word offset, the impact that you are going to, the additional impact that you are going to have within that 25-foot buffer zone?
I would respond by saying those are actually reasoned and fair comments and questions. And I believe that, yes, we have actually, unfortunately, what happens a lot of times with these projects is that as they evolve, you end up seeing what we've come up with. But I will submit to the commission that actually we did go to the Board of Appeals. And so this is a compromise of a project that what we were looking for was reduced by more than 25% in order to get the variance that we were looking for. Also,
So before you go on, sorry, 25% of the area you're building, or 25% of the number of units?
of the right, well, the number of units, because when you think about that, that also reduces our parking requirement that more than you ordinarily would have. And they were not really inclined to giving a variance for that parking, because that means you would end up parking on the street, which is not allowed. Mm-hmm. So yes, in terms of the number of units. But what I believe, Madam Chair and members of the commission, that yes, and yes. You've got situations that are comparable. However, what we've done, if you look at the easterly end of our project, water flows downhill. So that recharge area, keep in mind that presently you've got runoff from a parking area that is untreated, that is not recharged, that will continue to be that way without this project. So what we are doing here, as good and sensitive to the concerns historically, having worked in this city for a long time, trying to strike a balance between those concerns that the commission will readily and appropriately find, in an attempt to demonstrate that we have not just come up with a cavalier project. If you look at because the water runoff does not flow uphill, the site slopes from Quincy Street towards the wetlands. And so what we've done in order to provide for stormwater recharge and treatment, if you look at that where it says proposed infiltration on the east side, I have to do that grading work in order, so that is some sort of a trade-off. In order to provide that recharge, I have to work within that buffer zone. So I believe that it is a fair compromise, if you will, that we are actually trying to reduce the untreated runoff from going directly into the BVW, as well as providing recharge to recharge the groundwater. So that is that. And also the fact that this here will not be your typical single family or residential. This will be a very managed project all along that easterly boundary to make sure that there's no activity going beyond that. We're proposing a retaining structure, and we can perhaps do a few more plantings, to provide a vegetative, an additional vegetation along that boundary. But if you look at the property to the south, to the north, and to the west, we are providing a lot of new green area that does not exist presently. So I think while I'm an engineer representing the interests of my client, we have actually done a due diligence in anticipating potential concerns and issues and being proactive in addressing those. Of course, there are a couple of comments by your peer review consultants as well as Ms. Shave. I believe those are readily, matter of fact, we have addressed them, but we need to meet with Ms. Shave on the property to make sure that she's in agreement with the wetlands line, and then hopefully we will be able to wrap up the project at your next hearing. If Mr. Mather is online, Mr. Mather, you can chime in. I believe you've got our commitment to start off because of scheduling, and with all the delays through no particular person's fault, we would like to meet his construction schedule. This was supposed to actually go to construction end of May, but obviously nobody, through no particular person's fault, we are where we are, and Mr. Mather is hoping to start construction now so that he can still keep the financing that he has for the project. So we are looking to start construction end of July. And so
can I just say something? Has this received, I don't believe this has gone through site plan approval.
I believe Ms. Gurley, I believe we did it. We have had one meeting with the design review people, and we will meet with them again. So the conservation process is the most critical at this point for what we're doing. And we want to make sure that we've achieved that, and then we'll.
Right, you cannot proceed to the planning board without that order of conditions.
That is correct. That's why we're here.
But I honestly don't remember it going through tech review, so I'm gonna have to go back, and I know we had a meeting with the applicants and the attorney, but I don't remember it going through tech review.
So
I'll check the records.
You folks can work that out.
If I can jump in here, this has been, as you know, Pam, this has been looked at by the planning department, also on the executive side of the city of Brockton. And I think there's a lot of favor for this project, especially where what it is a fairly unsightly location or a sightly site that needs to be improved upon. And the city councilors are very in favor of this, very much in favor of this. And it went through the zoning board of appeals process. We've done quite a bit of vetting with various departments, including the executive branch. And there are many people in favor of this project. Pam, I tend to agree with you. I'm a little not too sure. I don't think we've done the site plan approval process.
I don't think so.
We may have filed, and this COVID thing has got me in a COVID coma, quite frankly. I sort of,
I can check tomorrow morning when I'm in the office.
I've missed
Yeah,
what's happened in the past few
Okay,
months.
so if we could, you folks can work that out. I certainly appreciate Attorney McCluskey that, I think everybody would like to see the site redeveloped. We still need to make sure that it complies with the standards and protects the resource areas. Megan, do you have comments from the peer reviewer on the stormwater at this time?
Yes, so they did provide a comment letter on June 15th. And so as Azu has Azu has mentioned, they did make a number of comments. And so at this time, I believe we received follow-up plans to address Beta's first request for additional information, and we did receive that information. It was things like watersheds, plans. We did forward that on to Beta, and so that resulted in them completing their review with their June 15th letter. And so I believe at this time, Azu has referenced some of their changes to address those comments, but I don't believe we've received that response in writing or the updated plans. So in order to have Beta follow up on any of that review, we would need to receive whatever revisions have been made based on the June 15th letter.
Okay.
Megan, are we still owed review money?
I'll have to.
No, they paid
yes.
quite a lot of money, Ms. Gurley. Well, don't ask for
I
any more
believe
money.
he only paid partial. I believe he only paid a partial.
Okay.
Yes. I'll have to follow up with Beta on.
Because if that's
review,
so,
yes.
then we can't let Beta's review, we can't incur Beta's time,
Expense without
money.
Joanne, do you have any more questions, comments?
Yes, I do.
think those were good.
So I've got 3 more questions. So 2 of them kind of relate to the same thing. So I noticed on the map that it looks like the area for trash from the property is pretty much abutting the 25-foot wetlands buffer. And so I'm a little bit concerned about that. And then secondly, we've spent a lot of time on this commission talking about snow storage and salt. So I'm just wondering what the plans are for storing snow on this property during the winter. And then my third question is for Megan. I'm just, the water situation with the infiltration system, I'm pretty comfortable with. I'm more concerned that if we do allow this project to go into the 25-foot wetlands buffer, then it's actually removing habitat that is continuous with habitat that extends beyond the property line. And so it's not easily replaced by additional shrubs or bushes or other even native plants and kind of decorative areas on the property site. So I just wanted Megan's thoughts on the impact of that in particular as well.
I can say there is a mitigating circumstance here in that because the site is historically filled and historically disturbed, although the 25-foot buffer zone is currently not paved, it is currently filled with about 6 feet of fill in some places. And it is dominated by invasive species in a lot of places. There's knotweed, there's multiflora rose, there's black locust, there's pretty much every invasive that Brockton gets in this 25-foot buffer zone. So while paving it is going to increase the impervious surface in that area, talking about how it is now, it is technically already altered and it's technically not dominated by native species. So the discussion of, its value as native habitat, it would have to be a discussion of, the habitat as it pertains to invasive species. So how is it functioning right now as a humanly disturbed habitat? So presumably it's still providing, ecosystem services, but we're not talking about a native plant community here.
Thank you, Megan.
The question relating to the dumpster, the dumpster is actually more than 25 feet from the BVW. So it's outside the 25 feet, the proposed trash area. That is more than 25 feet.
Well, the corner of it, the top right corner of it is just about abutting the 25-foot line, right?
The trash removal?
The trash area, yes. So the top right of where you're pointing
Yeah, that is
much
that,
abutting the 25-foot line.
well, that is 33 feet, 33 feet from the BVW.
Right, but it's very close, and that's my concern.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is close. But I just want to make sure that at least we know that it's not in the 25 feet.
It's definitely not.
And in terms of snow removal, because this will have an actual management of a company, most of the snow will be on the green area, right on the west side of the property. And any excess snow will definitely be hauled off site because you will need to do that in order to provide the parking. So snow management will not be a problem. And as a matter of fact, it is a good practice to not use salt in these areas, and we will not have any problem. We will not be adverse to the commission imposing a condition in perpetuity of no salt for de-icing. That will not be something that we would be adverse to.
Okay.
Bonnie?
I believe Joanne has asked all my questions.
Okay. So I mean, there's still a lot of work to do.
Yes, Madam Chair, we're not looking to close the hearing tonight. But
Do you want to continue to the 15th? Do you think?
Of July, please. And in the meantime, we would reach out to Ms. Shave to see when she might be able to meet on site. And Ms. Shave, we do maintain our social distancing, and we do have our masks on every time we go out. So.
Do I?
I just have one question. It's more of a comment. Again, Attorney McCluskey was talking about having conversations with the counselors and with the executive level of the city. I also would encourage people when they're looking at projects like this to reach out to Megan ahead of time and have a conversation with her and review the project, because she can certainly help guide you in the direction that is going to make it easier and probably facilitate the review process with the Conservation Commission.
I've loomed over Megan's desk a couple of times on this.
Okay.
Already.
All right. That's what I like to hear. I like to know that people are reaching out and talking.
She is, unfortunately, she's too close to the front line and she has no escape.
Yeah. Okay, and then just one other comment. I couldn't find it before and I still can't find it. I'm looking at sheet 4. Is there a north arrow on your plan, Azu?
Yes, if you look at sheet number 3.
Okay, but sheet number 4 does not have one. Okay.
I don't have my sheet 4 in front of me. Can you share that? Are you able to share sheet number 4?
Hold on. Okay.
Okay. Now, the reason it doesn't, we can add that, but the reason it had it before, if you look at that sheet number 4, it is actually a reproduction of sheet number 3.
Uh-huh.
So all these specifications for the construction period.
Yeah.
Took the space where we had it, and we could have moved it over to the left side, and we didn't move it. We didn't put it back on the plan those notes go to where,
Right.
that's really what happened there.
Okay. All right. Okay, so do I have a motion to continue to July 15th?
I'll make a motion to continue to July 15th.
That's Joanne. Do I have a second?
I will second.
And all in favor, Stephanie, I.
Joanne, I.
Bonnie, I.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
John?
Stay safe.
Thank you,
John, can
everyone.
you check your records, John, and see if you have actually made an application for site plan approval?
I will. Thank you, Pam. I'm going to check that.
Okay, because if you get that in, we'll schedule the tech review.
Okay.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a request for determination for 53 Baker Street. ET Engineering is the representative. Azu, you have the floor again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. For the record, my name is Azure Teniro for representing Mr. Kenneth Musset regarding his project at 53 Baker Street. Madam Chair, what we have before you is a request for determination of applicability. There was a confusion as to what Mr. Musset should have done, but I don't know, to be quite honest with you, the history of Mr. Musset with the commission. However, he did receive an enforcement order, a cease and desist order, telling him that he shouldn't do any more work because he has wetlands on the property. The BVW was never delineated. And he apologized, at least he told me that he apologized and assured me that he had received a building permit and that there was a sign off from the commission's office on the building permit. So at that time, he didn't know that he had to go to conservation. But when he received the cease and desist order, which I told him that that probably was in order for the simple reason that the commission staff can only react to a plan that it has before it. And if that plan did not show any BVW, it is incumbent upon the applicant to reflect that. And that was not reflected on any documents that was signed off. And so he stopped work. That was back, I believe, in late January, early February. And he hired Mr. Brad Holmes to go and fly the wetlands, which he did, and provided a report. And then I went out there with a couple of people from my office, located the wetlands. The foundation is already started. He put the footing on the foundation is there. And the foundation wall was ready to be poured when he got the stop work order, which I encouraged him and admonished him to honor, and he has done that. Obviously, with the advent of COVID-19, I told him, well, let's file a request for determination, which is what we have here, at least now that he has the wetlands delineated. And we are asking the commission, and we are hoping and praying the commission, whereas he can maintain that 25 no touch, and whereas you can see the clearing that's done along what I showed, this squiggly line that represents the limit of clearing that is still above the 25-foot no touch. The actual foundation work is well above 70 feet from the BVW. And so and I received Megan's comment, and those are properly founded. The problem now, and I think with the negative determination with the stipulation that not even providing erosion control. And as a matter of fact, let me back up, Madam Chair. When he was ordered to stop work, he went on and put erosion control barrier right away. And so I saw the comments from Megan, and those are properly founded, but I also recognize that it's now more than almost 4 months that it really additional applications to go through a notice of intent will really put an undue burden on Mr. Musette. He has, at least since my involvement, I can't speak as to what happened prior, but since my involvement, he has determined and committed to whatever needs to happen that he will do. So while I agree with Megan on the comments, I do think that because of the delays that we have had, if we were able to have had a meeting back in March or April, then we would have probably had a hearing on the notice of intent in May. But here we are at the end of June.
So Azu, I'm going to stop you there. You know, the whole world has stopped, and there's been significant adverse impact on a whole lot of people as a result of COVID-19. So we are in the situation we are in, as you pointed out, through no fault of any of ours. And I think belaboring that is not productive. I'm looking at the plans, and I see one plan sheet. Am I missing something? Because
no, Madam Chair, you're not missing anything.
Show. I don't really see where. Okay, so the footing. Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
And Megan references something from 2002 in her report.
Has a long history.
Right. I mean, I think this was, I'm not sure why Mr. Musette did not know he was subject or could be subject to a filing with the Conservation Commission.
Sometimes it's again, as I noted earlier, Madam Chair, I cannot speak to the counsel that he got from somebody else prior to my involvement. So I cannot.
But again, there's been some history here, so I'm confused as to why this is being submitted as a determination when the proposed dwelling is clearly within the 100-foot buffer.
The only reason I did that, Madam Chair, is looking at the DEP policy that when work, it's more than 50 feet, that our request for, it can be considered on that request for, that's all. That's the only reason. And I'm looking at the foundation that it's 70-something feet away. That's the only reason. No other reason. I'm not going to tell you there's any special technical reason other than the fact that DEP policy allows a request for determination for when you can stay 50 feet. So, and I think that can readily be accomplished here. And if in fact, and I again, I agree with Megan's comments that perhaps just to, as a good faith and as a help here, if we can at least be allowed to not allowed to do any other site work, but at least frame the building. We're still gonna do utilities. We still have to do landscaping work on that. The foundation is already there. We don't have to do any ground disturbance to build above. That's really, I think, if we can do that while we do a notice of intent for the site work, perhaps that will mitigate some of the hardship. I'm not saying that he's entitled to any special consideration, but I think.
So again, I'm not inclined. Megan, please remind me: does a determination of applicability It doesn't need to be recorded at the Registry of Deeds, does it?
No.
I don't believe so.
It is
And-
not, you can require that. If you make a determination requiring that, it can be.
I would rather see this go through a notice of intent myself. And especially given some of the history here. So, Joanne, do you have any comments, questions?
No, not at this time. I think I agree with you on that.
Bonnie?
I'm also interested in seeing it as a notice of intent.
Would you like us to take a vote tonight?
Madam Chair, is it possible if obviously a notice of intent means a positive determination, which I would not have a problem with. But is it possible, Madam Chair, if the commission will, Ms. Shave obviously is familiar with the site. If we are allowed to file a notice of intent, but at the same time, we already have erosion control, but no site work, no equipment operation on this site, other than allow the foundation and the framing to continue while we do the notice of intent. I think that is not unreasonable. Make it positive, but with this proviso that the framing of the building can commence, but no site work, period, until the notice of intent is filed and approved. I think that will mitigate some of that hardship. It is self-imposed hardship, I agree. It is self-imposed hardship. But at the end of the day, if there is no sin, we wouldn't have the word forgiveness. So I'm just praying the commission to have that little empathy, if you will.
Fellow commissioners?
I'm sorry, I have no empathy here. The rules are the rules, and those are the rules, and these weren't followed here for a very long time, it appears. So I think it should follow the proper process, and for us to permit any kind of framing without the proper process being followed, I think is really unfair on any future project that might come forward.
Bonnie?
I have to agree with Joanne here.
So my fellow commissioners are echoing my sentiments as well. I really would like, we need to see an order of conditions on record for this project. So you're asking the commission to make a determination. Do I have a motion to issue a positive determination?
Do we need to discuss?
Means
we need to
that they
discuss-
need to,
yeah.
they need to come in with a notice of intent.
Sorry, I'm just thinking this through before I say
Yep.
anything.
Yep.
1 minute.
And I don't have the regulations right in front of me. Megan, is it, what number would this be? I mean, it's jurisdictional, the work's jurisdictional, the area's jurisdictional.
Mm-hmm. So again, it's tricky because of the history of the site, but based on the information that I've reviewed, going back to the 1980s, going forward, based on the information I have, I would recommend, I believe it would be yeah, it could be a +1 or a +3 because there's evidence that, again, not by this particular house, but the history of, there's evidence that there has been wetland alteration on this site that is not permitted through an order of conditions. So it would therefore carry into this project, even though it's not shown on a plan or not being proposed. It has happened based on what I have available. So I would say, yeah, for example, the +3, that the work on, or if we want to not reference the plan at all, it would be the +1, that the area described on the reference plan is an area subject to protection under the Act. Removing, filling, dredging, or altering of the area requires a notice of intent. The idea being that if this subject parcel was filled in the past, talking the early 90s, early 2000s, and that was never shown on an order of conditions, then technically, again, that carries over to this project. So there is possibly filled wetlands on the site that would qualify for the +1.
Okay, Joanne, does that help you?
Yeah, so you might need to help me with the wording. So my motion is, so I'd like to make a motion to issue a positive determination of applicability.
Finding that the area is subject to jurisdiction.
Finding that the area is subject to jurisdiction.
And I would also say, and the work is subject to jurisdiction, and we'll let Megan figure out the numbers.
Okay. And the work is subject to jurisdiction as well.
Yes, and I think the big point is that it requires the filing of the notice intent.
Yes.
And that's the verbiage that's in the +1, would be
Yes.
requiring the notice of intent.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Stephanie in favor?
Joanne in favor? Excuse me.
In favor?
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. All right, we have some other business. Oh, I didn't ask if we had any abutters.
It's a determination.
But
It's
nobody, that's right, it's
determination,
it's not a hearing, correct.
And nobody raised their hand.
Right, right. Okay. Megan, the floor is yours.
Okay, yes, so we have 2 requests for a minor change. I can start with the new one since it hasn't been discussed. This is for the VA hospital and their existing order of conditions.
He is online, so I'm going to unmute him.
Okay, yeah, and I think,
And then Monica. Oops.
okay, so yes, I've met with the project engineers on site. Basically, they have an existing order of conditions to finish developing their staging area. And they're looking to
Okay, I'm
add
going
a
to
wa-
stop you for a moment. Mr. Hughes, are you near a radio or a cell phone that's causing that feedback?
I might be, yes.
Could you take care of that for us?
It sounds like the feedback might be, you might need to put in headphones. It might alleviate the problem.
And you can also, why don't, in the meantime, you can mute yourself, I believe, and then if you need to speak, you can unmute. Okay.
Better?
Hang- Every time you talk, we get the echo. Hold on, Megan, do you want to? Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Okay, so, yeah, so basically there's already a water line that runs through the staging area. And so they're proposing a minor change to add a hookup or a connection within their existing limit of work from that existing water line up to the pump house that is within their limit of work. And so I visited the site with them and they showed me the area where the connection is going. The erosion controls are already in place, so I don't have an issue with accepting this as a minor change. I can. share the plans if the commission would like to see.
Oh, we lost John.
I'm not really sure who Monica is.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, so I work with John Hughes at the VA hospital. I'm one of the people that met with Megan.
Okay. Thank you for identifying yourself.
And then there's a telephone number there.
Okay, so Megan, are you trying to bring something up on the screen? Is that?
Yes, I'm trying to just share. Let's see. It's giving me a hard time about. Yeah, I'm not sure why is, because no one's sharing their screen right now, so I don't know why it's fighting me. Nope, it's only sharing this now. All right, I'm not sure why it's not allowing me to share. I don't know if it's because I'm a host.
You have access to the same folders that Stephanie does, because if you can share it to her folders that she has access to, she's had luck.
Yeah, I think Stephanie, you'll have to bring it up in your, under the VA.
Yep, hold on. And I'm bringing up, there are two plans. There's
Yeah,
water
so the
connection
water
details.
connections details, I think is the clearest.
Huh, you cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing.
Mm.
Did you
Let
click
me see.
on your document?
It wouldn't, honestly, it was only giving me the option to share my computer sound. I don't know why that is, but it should be turned off now.
Okay, hold on, let me try it again. There we go. Is this the?
Yes.
I don't know, is there a way to rotate it when it's? In any case, you can direct me on.
Yeah, so that bubbled area towards the middle.
Over here?
Yes.
Yep.
That little where all the writing is in that bubble, that's the, you can see the pump house is towards the bottom, the little rectangle's the pump house, and then that darker black line is the connection.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Yes, yep.
So they're proposing where that little arrow's pointing, that's the connection from the existing water line to the pump house.
Okay. And then is this a new line here? See the?
Just a call out. I think it's just the.
Oh, just a line pointing to the.
Yeah, I think those other lines are call outs to the, yeah. their labels.
Okay. Okay. All right, and it's your recommendation that we accept this as a change?
Yes, I mean, the area isn't paved yet, so they wouldn't have to dig up any paving. It would just be, I think they're looking to put it in before they do the paving that's associated with the staging area.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to accept this change? Is this a new plan sheet or is it an amended plan sheet to the plan set?
This is a separate sheet.
Okay. So I think the motion is that we want to accept the plan as shown on this plan sheet, which appears to be titled Water System Plan 6, deduct alternate number 1. And I'm looking dated, it looks like it's dated 2/27. I don't think I can zoom in anymore. There we go. This plan is dated 2013. Is there a revised? I don't see a revised date. Is that
not on the original order of conditions plan?
No, the connection is not on the original order of conditions
So
plan.
they just didn't revise the date?
they didn't revise the date. Does this, it doesn't, we don't have a date stamp on this either.
No, I believe the other plan
Gee,
done by Holmgren, they did the original plan, so they also added.
Yeah. I mean, we really should have a current plan, at least with the, is that the revision date there?
So there is also in that folder.
There we go.
Oh, there it is.
4/2/20. So it is revised through. Okay, revised through April 2nd, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Yes, but you'll have to scroll back up so I can read the name of the plan. You need me to do that?
Yes, right here.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the minor alteration as shown on the Water System Plan 6, deduct alternate number 1.
Dated 2/27/13.
Dated 2/27/13 and revised
right there.
2nd, 2020.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye, Stephanie.
Joanne, aye.
Bonnie, aye.
Okay. Then 2020 Main Street. Didn't we do this last week?
Oh, we had no quorum. We had lost the quorum.
Oh, all right. I'm going to make a motion that we accept the request for minor change, which is to not level out, right? They trenched it.
Did not trench it.
They did not trench the replication area. Do I have a second?
A second.
Stephanie, yay.
Joanne, yay.
Bonnie, yay.
Motion passes.
Is there a date on that plan?
The
Just changing
2020,
the-
hold on. Can you tell I've been at this desk since 6 o'clock this morning? I am so done right now. Let's see, 2020 Maine. Doesn't look like there's a
There's
plan.
no
It's just
plan.
right.
Yeah, there
We
wasn't.
did
a
have a plan
plan.
sheet. Okay,
Yeah, I didn't forward over everything from the last, but there was the original, the approved plan
Right.
sheet, and then these are the two reports that were
Right.
submitted to
All
back
right.
up the change.
We know what we want. Okay. And enforcement order ratifications, we have some new ones.
Yes, so there were the three that we heard about at the last meeting. That was 204 Court Street, 36 Claremont Ave, and 42 Claremont Ave that weren't officially voted to be ratified because we lost quorum. So there's those two. I have since issued two more. The one you have up is 57 River Street. We received a report that someone was dumping truckloads of fill behind the house at 54 River Street. So I followed up to confirm that that was the case. There are several large piles of fill behind the house, which falls within FEMA flood zone AE and therefore constitutes filling of the bordering land subject to flooding. So I issued this enforcement order with some required mitigation to begin remedying this illegal fill.
All right, and you're looking for a ratification. Do I have a motion to ratify the enforcement order for 54 River Street?
I'll make a motion to ratify the enforcement order for 50, what number is it?
57
River Street.
Oh, it's 57? Okay. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Go ahead,
Bonnie,
Joanne.
aye.
Joanne.
And Stephanie, aye.
Okay. And then the second new enforcement order is for 34 Herman Street. We had originally issued a letter to this property back in January 2020 about dumping behind the house that may have been encroaching on the city-owned parcel that abuts it. We didn't have any follow-up on that, but in the months since, I was informed by Deputy Fire Chief Williams that there had been additional earth-moving activities behind 34 Herman Street. So either fill has been brought in or fill has been spread around. There was a report that possibly debris was being buried as part of these earth-moving activities. And it does appear that this fill has encroached past the property boundary onto the city-owned parcel. And in addition, the limit of disturbance is within 25 feet of that intermittent stream that runs through the city-owned parcel. So again, I've issued an enforcement order with required mitigation to get the property boundary reassessed so that the fill can be brought off of the city-owned property and that any disturbance can be properly documented as part of a permitting process if the owner at 34 Herman Street is planning to do some sort of leveling out of his backyard or otherwise.
I just have a curiosity question. Is this, would this happen to be any one of the abutters that have been coming to the hearings?
This is a house on Herman Street. I don't believe we've ever spoken to this abutter. When we issued the first letter about the dumping, I received a call from a relative of the owner who explained at the time that he was out of the country. So I had requested that someone, a resident at the property, follow up with the commission, but I did not hear anything after that call. So again, I've issued this enforcement to the property owner once again.
Okay, do I have a motion to ratify the enforcement order for 34 Herman Street?
I make a motion to ratify the enforcement order for 34 Herman Street.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Danielson, aye.
Joanne, aye.
Bonnie, aye.
Motion passes. And we need to vote to ratify the,
The three that we discussed at the previous meeting.
do I have a motion to ratify the 3 enforcement orders discussed at the last meeting?
I make a motion to ratify the 3 enforcement orders that we discussed at our last meeting.
Do I have a second?
Bonnie, I.
I'm taking that as a
sorry, then
second.
I second.
And I'm taking it as Bonnie is in favor,
Luann is in favor.
Stephanie in favor. Motion passes. All right. 2 weeks in a row. And our next meeting is July 15th, right?
Yes.
So are we back to once a month now?
You are.
Okay. Woo.
Yes. How are we looking? What do we have on the docket?
At this point, we have everything that's been continued from these past 2 meetings.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a couple new filings that were submitted during the current state of emergency. So in accordance with the recent House bill, they have not yet been scheduled to a meeting because we are trying to address the applications that have already been made, but we do have 3 additional applications that have not yet been scheduled.
Well,
So how
one I
many
don't
do we
believe
have?
has a check.
Right, yes, and one of them.
One has no filing fee, so he's not complete.
Okay, so we have 2. And how many have we continued to the next meeting?
You
For
can
the next meeting,
Leach, 1, 2, 3. You continued everything to the next meeting.
Oh, all right.
Excuse me.
Okay, I think we're done. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Bonnie seconds.
Oh, actually, we voted for one. Okay, Danielson in favor.
Joanne in favor.
I'm sure Bonnie's in
Bonnie in favor. Sorry.
favor. That's okay. Bonnie, thank you so much for joining us from camping. Where
Thank
are
you.
you?
Vermont Townshend.